Let me start again the way I started the last 2 days. We will get through this. We will get through this. This is going to be some difficult days ahead, but we will get through this. And I am a person of faith, a Catholic. My wife is Orthodox. We have both Catholic and Orthodox priests here today, and I've had the great privilege of worshiping with many of the other pastors that are here today. I'm also convinced that we will only get through this with the help of God. And we have a number of things to cover today. The primary purpose of today's gathering is to talk to the public of Cincinnati and the region about how to continue worshiping. For those of you, and the vast majority of us are in fact people of faith. We don't want you to stop worshiping. We want you to figure out how to worship in a safe manner. And I would suggest that those prayers and worship are more important now and over the next couple of weeks and months than it has been in many parts of our lives. So, like yesterday, we had an unprecedented collection of leaders of all 5 CEOs of the major hospital systems in Cincinnati. Today we have an incredible representation of some of the largest faith groups in our community. I happen to know virtually everyone here personally, and they are incredible leaders in their faith communities and have been for a very long time. And I hope that people understand watching the TV that these types of gatherings are uncommon, and they are happening because we are all, as leaders in our respective ways, worried and want to make sure that our folks have good information. We will be hearing from folks, and to be clear, the governor's order exempted religious services, and even if he hadn't, there is a constitutional protection of the right of worship in our Constitution. So it's unclear whether I or the governor or anybody else could tell the religious institutions what to do. We're not doing that. But we do know that many of them, all of them, are taking a variety and different steps to enter into a worship weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on faith tradition, of worship that we want. They've sent out emails to their congregations, etc., but we want everyone to hear how there are options to continue worshiping going forward. At the end, we'll take some questions, and I'm guessing there may be some questions that are unrelated to faith based on the 4 diagnoses today. But since we did ask people to come here, I would like to have a few folks speak. And the order of speaking is as follows. Shakila Ahmad from the Islamic Center of Cincinnati, and Father Steve Angie here, the Archdiocese, Rabbi Louis Camrus of Isaac Wise Temple, Pastor Casey Smith of Corinthian Baptist Church, the Reverend Damon Lynch III of New Prospect Baptist Church, and Pastor Brian Tome of Crossroads Church. Shakila.
Thank you, Mayor. May God's peace be upon all of you. Thank you, Mayor, for convening us. And it is humbling to stand with all of these incredible faith leaders with whom we work quite a bit. I'm here as a layperson because our head Imam Hossam Musa, was live streaming the 1:15 service, and he will be live streaming the 3:30 service as well. So we have asked people to not gather for the congregational prayers, which happens 5 times a day, as well as the Jummah services, which hosts with both of the combined over 1,500 people. So you can understand as to the need for us to keep our community safe, but very importantly, to keep the rest of our greater community safe. And so all activities, including sports activities, religious activities, have been canceled. The staff will continue to serve people via phone if they can. We are figuring out ways to serve those who are in need with food and provide those needed services in order to be able to not have people be in extraordinary hardship. So, as the mayor said, our faith and obligations are very important to us, but we know we can pray anywhere. And so prayer does not stop. It increases for all of us. Our work to support each other does not stop. It only increases. And so we will be doing online education on the coronavirus, as well as education and faith-based curriculum. And we are happy to learn from others and share with others whatever it is that we can do in order to keep our communities strong. God be with you. Assalamu alaikum.
Father Steve Angie, Chancellor of the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. The Archdiocese of Cincinnati and we as Catholics in Ohio are cooperating with the directives of Governor DeWine in response to the current situation in the state of Ohio. Archbishop Schnoor, the Archbishop of Cincinnati, and the Catholic bishops of Ohio have dispensed all Catholics in the state of Ohio from the obligation to attend Sunday Mass for the rest of the month. Those who are sick, showing signs of sickness, or those most at risk of serious illness, out of charity towards their brothers and sisters in Christ, are strongly urged to stay home. In addition, Archbishop Schnoor has issued the following health and safety precautions: limited physical contact between the faithful, including at the sign of peace and during the Lord's Prayer, suspension of Holy Communion from the cup and on the tongue, removal of holy water from holy water fonts. We encourage the faithful to check with their parish if live streaming Mass is available, and if not, weekend Masses will be live streamed from the cathedral here at the Archdiocesan website, CatholicCincinnati.org. The website will also be updated with the latest response and information for the faithful. We also ask everyone to continue to pray for the sick and suffering, as well as the healthcare professionals who are battling this illness.
Rabbi Cameras.
In our own congregation, Louis Cameras, Rabbi of Isaac M. Wise Temple. The various synagogues in our community are all operating with an abundance of caution. In our own congregation, for which I can personally speak, we have moved all of our worship to the online platform, to streaming video. We want to have all of our members and members of the larger community to understand that this is a significant and unprecedented issue that requires some creative responses. In Judaism, we have a requirement for communal prayer that there be a minyan, that there be 10 people present in order for communal prayer to take place. But we also have the ability to respond to unusual circumstances with the idea known as pikuach nefesh, that you can be responsive and make some adjustments for the sake of preserving life, of preserving a soul. And it's with that in mind that we in the larger faith community, I think, stand squarely on deep and abiding values, ancient values during this unprecedented time, and that allow us to be able to say and to encourage people to stay at home, to use the streaming video. If your own congregation doesn't have that capability, then certainly there are other congregations of your own particular faith that will offer that for this period of time. Finally, I would just add that being part of a church or synagogue or mosque is not only about prayer, it's about being part of a faith community. And for people to find new ways to be able to connect, to help one another, to take care of unmet needs, this is what it means to be in faith and in community. And so we're all encouraged to do that, to reach out through the appropriate means in your own congregation to help others. And I think from all of this, we will come to understand with even richer meaning what community and faith community means to us in our lives when we're able to reconvene in person once again. Thank you.
Pastor Casey Smith.
Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that's within me. Bless his holy name. I want to thank our Mayor, John Cranley, for convening this press conference, and also Pastor Damon Lynch III. He brought us together yesterday on a conference call. You know, and now the coronavirus, regardless of our faith or of our denomination, has brought us together as faith leaders. And so we must work together in order to provide a safe place to worship. I just remind you of the Old Testament book of Chronicles, 2 Chronicles 7:14. There the Lord said that if my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, God said, then he will hear from heaven, forgive us of our sins, and heal our land. So we will continue to worship, and we will continue to pray.
Damon Lynch, pastor, New Prospect Baptist Church. And I echo the sentiments of everybody that's been shared. I just had a leadership meeting with my congregation an hour before I came here, and we are looking at encouraging most, if not all, of our members not to attend worship. I, of course, will be there, prayerfully along with some musicians and some singers. We will stream live to our congregation, because I think it's important for us as the faith community, who are the only ones exempt from whether it's the governor's order, and maybe we're exempt by the Constitution, that exemption is not a license to continue business as usual, especially because we love the members of our congregations. And so as the world closes in around us, and Disneyland closes and the NBA stops and they don't want more than 100 people to congregate, we as a faith community have to be careful, again, not to use that exemption as an excuse to continue to do what we're doing, because we don't want to be the only ones. While nobody else is congregating 100 and more, we are, because right now there is no vaccination that we know of. There are not enough tests, and so the way to begin to quell this thing is by containment. And that's the reason they don't want 100 or more people gathering together. Again, there is no vaccination that we know of. There are not enough tests. And the only way to deal with this now is containment. So things may change from this week to next week. They may get better, they may get worse. But right now, we're just going to encourage the members of our congregation to stay home because we love them. Watch us online, and we'll see what happens next week.
Brian Tome, Senior Pastor, Crossroads Church. I'm united, we're all united. Everything everybody's set up here, we're all united on. As people of faith, we recognize that we're not the random chance of a big bang and there's nothing watching over us. All of us as people of faith understand that there is a God who cares for us, there's a God who empowers us. All of us understand that we walk by faith, not by sight. All of us understand that there is a force that can comfort us beyond what somebody says on the news. All of us understand that we hold our lives very lightly, and God can do with us whatever he wants, and that may include suffering. All of us understand that we also have a spiritual aspect to our entities. We have a relational need. So while other people are talking about 6 feet apart and sanitizing, all that is critical, all that's important. It's all of our jobs to give people the needs they have as human beings. We are more lonely now than ever. We are more fearful than ever. And our faith, at least many of our faith in the book of the New Testament says in the book of 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, God's not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and self-discipline. So we've canceled all events at Crossroads for this weekend. We're taking on a week-by-week basis. We may make a longer one in the future, but we knew for sure we need to cancel everything this week. Some people would say, oh no, you're giving in to fear. No, that's giving into love. We want to love people by not spreading a virus. Some people might say, well, you're looking weak. No, we're showing that we're being powerful because we're not ruled by fear, and we're all making some bold decisions. And we're being self-disciplined. We're being disciplined because we love our city, we love our region, and we love our people, and we all need to take care of the spiritual and relational needs in significant ways. Just because we all cancel services, we still have significant and serious ministry to do. Loving your neighbor as yourself doesn't stop because there's a coronavirus. And it's great to hear that everybody's in alignment here, and anybody who I have leadership over is understanding this, and they're going to be amping up our efforts to give care to one another in the spiritual, emotional, and relational realm.
Thank you all for being here. As I said at the beginning, we know that the governor is speaking at the same time as we are and has, I'm sure, very important information to share. The president will be speaking at 3. And so we don't intend to keep any of you and my friends here long, but we can take a few questions at this time.
Mayor, you said that when you planned this, you did not have any inkling that there would
Right.
be 4 confirmed positive tests in our region. And that happened today from U6. Your reaction has changed about the way the city is responding?
Well, this is what we've been preparing for. We knew this day was coming. I spoke to the governor about an hour ago, and he said, and I said to him, "Are you going to talk about this at 2?" He said, "Probably." And I said, anything new that I need to know or should recommend to our people? And he said, do exactly what we've been talking about all week, which is continue to get people to social distance, continue to wash hands, continue to self-quarantine if you show any of the symptoms. Remember, if you have fever and a dry cough, those, especially in combination, are the symptoms. I know people this week who had those symptoms, got tested, and came back as the flu, the normal flu. So that doesn't mean you have it, but there's a chance you do have it. And so it is critical that you self-quarantine if you show the symptoms. I know that we're all frustrated by the lack of speed around the testing. I know that the state of Ohio is doing everything in its power to do more testing. And I think the governor and his team has shown great leadership in all of this. I believe that it will get better over the next week, the amount of tests that are able to make. But the fact of the matter is that there are going to be a significant gap between ramping up the testing capacity of this country and so being able to positively ID someone as in fact having the coronavirus, which means self-quarantining if you have the symptoms all the more important. And so I think those are the key takeaways. I'll be meeting after this meeting with our police and fire chiefs, and we'll be talking about everything we need to do over the next several weeks. As I've been saying all week, we will adjust our strategies and tactics based on new information as we get it. We believe that the preparations we've made all week and the advice we've given all week and the orders that the governor has put in place all week are the right orders. And we will continue to do what we learn to be the best practice on a going forward basis. Having said all that, the preparations we've made this week are focused on 4 or 5 key areas. Delivery of clean water, probably being the most important, which we will do. And our waterworks is widely lauded as the best waterworks in the country, run by a public agency. And they have plans in place for a long-term pandemic to ensure that clean water is delivered. We are changing deployment practices of our police and fire to make sure that our firefighters and police officers, to the extent reasonable, keep 6 feet apart from each other so that if one gets sick, they don't all get sick. These are the kinds of things that we're doing. Similar with sanitation work, keeping the streets clean of garbage and picking up garbage will continue to be important going forward. Those are just 4 critical services that the city provides that we will continue to provide, and we have been preparing all week to do so in new ways. And so this is what we've been preparing for, and it's clearly here now. And we expect that there'll be a significant increase in positive cases over the coming days and weeks.
Mayor, do you know if the 4 people self-quarantine and how concerned should people around them be that they potentially were around these people when they were just treated and released?
It's my understanding that they have, but nonetheless, it's in our region. And even with the best of self-quarantining, you're going to come in contact with other people, and it's going to spread.
If you feel sick right now, you don't have a doctor, where should a person go?
There are hotlines to call if you believe you have the symptoms. You should call your primary care doctor first, because we don't want our hospitals overrun. But remember, most of us at this time of year get a runny nose, things of that nature. It's fever and dry cough that are the symptoms of coronavirus. So if you have those symptoms, quarantine yourself, call your doctor immediately. If you can't get a hold of your doctor, call a hotline to get information and get tested if necessary, if recommended, as soon as possible. Any other?
The business owners in the city that will likely see a significant decrease in customers coming in because now it's hitting home.
This is another reason for prayer, which is we need to, and prayer leading to action, to figure out what actions we can take as a community and as a region, as individuals, to help small businesses and other businesses, all businesses, get through this difficult time. And obviously, there's going to be a very negative impact economically. That doesn't take a secret or genius to figure that out. You know, my brother-in-law is in the restaurant business. You know, I know a lot of restaurants are talking about going, those who have the capacity to go to drive-through. And I was talking to a very prominent restaurateur who was talking about seating every other table to create spaces. The restaurants are exempt under the governor's order, but just like churches being exempt, everyone, including restaurateurs, care about their workers and care about their customers and have to be careful. And we all have to be careful. And we hope that by containing it in the short term, it might end shorter than anticipated, which will save a lot of businesses if we can contain it quickly.
Mayor, how much has your schedule changed from face-to-face meetings?
You know, it's a work in progress. You know, we have moved to a minimum in my office to 6 feet apart as we're talking. We've converted a number of meetings to phone calls. And my guess is we're going to accelerate that process. And look, this is for all of us. I mean, look at us. We're all standing closer than we should right now. You know, we're not perfect. And we need to all give each other leniency as we move forward. But it's also the case that we have to be intentional about trying to do better. I still touch my face all the time. It's difficult not to. But these are the kinds of things that we have to try to habit our way out of.
How concerned are you about the number of tests available and the number of people showing up at the hospitals to get these tests?
Well, we talked about the hospital admissions yesterday, and they have the capacity to surge if necessary. But we want people, even if you have the symptoms, to call first. Call your primary care doctor, then call the hotline before just showing up. Because if you show up and you do have it, you might infect the people around. And so there are protocols in place that if you are likely to have it, how to admit yourself in the proper way. But there's no question that there's going to be more positive cases. I mean, the governor said to me on the phone just an hour ago that the 4 that are diagnosed today will probably not even make news a week from now, based on the rate at which they expect positive cases to come out.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
can you or Pastor Lynch speak about what we talked about yesterday, helping the seniors, those who will be confined, to try to put together a strategy to make sure that they have the things that they need?
I want to be careful about that. We are, at this time, working with Cincinnati Public Schools, working with our recreation centers, outreaching to our senior service centers to think about ways in which over the coming weeks we will better be able to deliver food, especially for kids on the free lunch program, et cetera. Laura Mitchell is ahead of the curve on this. She has plans and protocols in place, and we, the city, are going to convert some of our employees to assist in that manner. But we also have to be careful as we do that, that we do it in a way that's safe, again, for our workforce and for the people that we're trying to help. So we are expeditiously trying to get there, but we're not going to rush it without thinking through how to make sure that we can preserve safety in our first responders on a going forward basis. I don't want to get into that now, but everybody's on the table. Everybody, the government's going to stay open, and we have a lot of employees. And so we intend to, everyone is going to have a very important job for the next 3 to 4 months. And we will, on a flexible basis, convert people to do what's necessary to help homeless shelters, to help kids get fed from the school lunch program, to help senior citizens.
Would that also include fire and police?
All options are on the table.
All right, any more questions? One last question? All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.